There is a lot of AI washing. I think if you're designing something to replace humans, I think that's going to scare people. There are things about that HR business partner job that are so human that you need. Now, there's 60% of it maybe that isn't, and you can free them up to do 100% of the time of the work they've always wanted to do. I think there's a lot. You can't just tag AI on something.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of WorkTech Weekly. I'm Steve Smith, Managing Director of Growth at RepCap. AI is quietly making the hardest parts of a job the most valuable ones. As it takes over the technical, skills-based work, what's left over is judgment and the ability to read a room. That is turning out to be true at every level of a company, all the way up to the CEO seat. My guest today is Dean Carter, CEO of Instill. It's a culture tech platform that skips the annual survey and reads what is actually happening inside meetings in real time. Dean spent 25 years as a head of HR, including a long run at Patagonia, before making the switch to CEO. He's proof of his own argument. CHROs are some of the most qualified people in the building, and almost none of them get a real shot as CEO. He thinks that math is about to change. In this conversation, we talk about why he thinks people leaders are the next wave of CEOs, how Instill tries to measure something as fuzzy as trust without turning into a workplace surveillance tool, and why he is convinced that you cannot fake real intelligence behind an AI product, no matter how good the demo looks. If you've ever wondered what survives once AI eats the easy parts of the job, this conversation will give you a clearer answer. Let's get into it. Dean, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Steve. Looking forward to it.
I'm really excited about this conversation, Dean, because it's just like your track record as a people leader is pretty exemplary. I mean, you've been one of probably the most recognized people leaders in the country over the past 20 years. You've made the switch. You've moved from essentially head of HR over to CEO. Walk us through that decision. Why was now the right time to do that?
You know what? This is not a job that I sought or thought, 25 years ago when I started as a head of HR, that this would be the eventual path. I thought I'd just glide into a head of HR for the rest of my life. My fourth round into it, I began to think, I got really close to CEO a couple times. People like, oh, we're considering you for this. And I was like, I don't want that job. That's for crazy people. Like anyone, you gotta be nuts to do that job, because they just saw so many CEOs who it's a hard job. And I saw them get destroyed in the job. And so I thought, that's not what I want. And then I began to think, as I reinvented the head of HR, I thought, well, what if I reinvented that job? It didn't have to destroy me. And I started putting it on. I think this is something that I want to do next in terms of my next pivot. I've done this for the past 25 years. The next 20 could be something like that. And I just kept putting it out. I was interested in this. And all of a sudden, it found me. So this company was built by Femi Watt, who's built several other companies, and he builds them and then he finds someone to run them, and called me and said, hey, I built this amazing company. We capture culture. I was like, wow, that's what I've been trying to figure that out for a really long time. And he goes, I want you to run it. And I'm really, this is a real good intersection, because culture is super important to me. I'm really into data and how to drive business and connect outcomes through data. This is the first time I have a piece of data to connect culture and behavior to business outcomes. I'm fascinated with AI. I'm not scared of it at all. I recognize the terror that it could create and the havoc so I'm not I'm not unrealistic about it. I think we need to put some, guardrails around, the broader concept of AI, but the specific, use of it personally and for work. I think it's one of the greatest opportunities ever to do really things that we never were able to do. And I think particularly for the HR profession and for things like culture, it's been really hard to measure these things. Finance, you can measure a number pretty easy. You can look up a law pretty easy. No, HR, the fluffy things like trust and belonging and psychological safety felt, fuzzy, and maybe they're not going to be so fuzzy anymore. That's why I'm doing this.
Well, and so, what's interesting is sort of the conventional wisdom is that HR leaders don't make it to the CEO job. And you said yourself that CHROs are probably the most qualified people in the room who never get a shot. Why do you think that it was different for you?
Well, I think the world has changed. I did have an opportunity at Patagonia for the job I took for almost a decade, it was general counsel and CFO did report to me during that time. So I did have some experience, and my background is operations before HR. So it's some experience in it, but not entirely. I just think the moment is right. I think as, things that were really focused on technical skills, the technical skills of a CFO, the technical skills of a general counsel, and even the technical skills of HR, when you're left with what's left in terms of just the human part and the EQ, the CHRO actually is left with a lot more substantial role than, to some extent, even finance and general counsel. I mean, I can build a pretty sophisticated workforce planning and financial analysis program myself now. I have access to pretty much any piece of legal information I need and advice for my, legal agent. Or that doesn't replace, those roles, but what's left after skills and tasks and technical work is, AI can do. I think this is the job at the senior level that is going to be more important than ever, especially for the CEO too. I think the human part and the ability to navigate that as a human first company, I think is going to be the companies that win.
Well, and I think you bring up a good point, because what we're seeing kind of play out in real time is it seems like, you've heard all the patronizing comments over the years about, well, HR needs to earn its seat at the table, and those, that kind of BS. But, where we're at now is like HR and heads of HR are effectively becoming the chief AI officer, because it's that intersection of technology and people, and it seems like your background combined with the product that you're working on in the moment seems like, yeah, this is the right moment for you.
It is. I think it's going to be right. I think there are a lot of really amazing heads of HR who have to lean into AI, because it's how work gets done. And you just happen to fall in a space where, okay, this combination of how work gets done is actually the most important concept, not how much money you make, or, are we, sticking to the law. I think that we found ourselves accidentally at this spot, really prepared for it. I don't think 25 years ago you would say this, but I think today, and I think the level of sophistication, just because of COVID and a lot of things that have happened lately, had to increase dramatically. I've had several people who are, former other roles in the C-suite who've moved into the head of HR role, and they're like, this job is so much harder than I thought it was.
Yep.
Really hard. This is a very hard job. And I'm like, it's never off. I'm like, the job never off. And the CEO job is never off. So anyhow, I think there's going to be a natural movement towards finding more, people with intense people experience moving into CEO. I think I'm just probably the beginning of a wave. And I hope that I can prove this with this job. Hey, look.
Let's talk a little bit about what Instill actually does, because I've had a chance to just kind of, go through the website and look at, the broad brushstrokes of it. It looks like a really cool product, but, you probably had more tech companies pitch you than you care to remember. How, when you think about kind of the core premise behind it, that surveys are broken, I agree with that. And that real culture insight kind of lives in how teams talk to each other. Explain to me, like I'm a skeptical head of HR that's seen 100 culture tools pitched to me and really wants to find out more about this.
And I get a lot of pitches. I'm get fortunate, some people bringing me really amazing technology that I recognize, like Gloat, years ago on a napkin. Hey, what do you think about this? I think this is spectacular. I think this is going to be something that's needed for the future. And sure enough, Gloat is a significant player now. Or Kelly Stevens-Weiss, who came to me and said, I'm thinking about this company called Hitch, which is on fractional work and gig work. And she ended up being purchased by ServiceNow and is building another company. So I just have an eye for, amazing tech. And the thing that I've always I have been frustrated with the annual survey, but it was the best thing we could do. I always thought someday we're going to be able to understand what is the behaviors and the experiences in real time. We just never, and I was trying to fake it through everyday pulses, or fake it with, some sort of sentiment analysis that you might be able to do with some things, but just never quite got there. And when I found Instill, I was like, this is what I've been looking for forever. I wish I had it at Patagonia. When I joined the company, I said, why am I here? You don't even need me. The culture is amazing here. But what I will do is I want to dissect the DNA or articulate or understand the DNA. So when this company grows and scales, we protect this beautiful culture. So I didn't build Instill, so it's not my baby. And so I can call it ugly. If it was, here's what I think is beautiful about it and unusual. And by the way, I've talked to Greg Pryor with Workday, who kind of invented employee experience. And Greg's like, I haven't seen anything like this before. I showed it to Michael Arena, former head of HR for IBM, who's one of the most spectacular technologists and social understanding people. He's written books on this. He's like, never seen anything like this. Kathy Indris with Josh Bersin said, I see every single piece of tech that comes by. I've never seen this. This is a completely new category. So now what we have is the ability, one, we always want things in the flow of work. This is in the flow of work. There is no app. So everything happens in email. The second thing is it's completely passive. So it would sit in this room, in this reading right now, like it's Michael and is listening. And at the end of the meeting, all the agents that come together, send a note to you, Steve, and send me to me and whoever else in the room. That is my bespoke email about my behavior in the meeting that drove trust, psychological safety, innovation, collaboration. And it's done using Carol Dweck's one. So it's communicated using Carol Dweck's principles of growth mindset. So, hey, these are some things you did that were really good. Here are 2 recommendations you might even consider that could be even better. It is de-identified to everyone else. So I can't see like Dean Dean didn't do well on this. You can't see that from me, or neither can my manager. So it's private, it's bespoke to me, and I can see the performance at the team level. So my manager can see how the team is doing. And this number, it's actually scored, not because the score is important, but it's more like an index so you can see what moves up and down. And that goes all the way up from individual to team to function to company, and you can see this culture move in real time, in addition to culture values as well. So we plug those in. And at the bottom of it, this is the beautiful part. In addition to getting information every day, we put business outcomes at the bottom, and we can correlate business outcomes, whether it's, HR people outcomes like turnover or retention or burnout, or business outcomes like patents or revenue targets, and compare that to which one of these are actually correlate the most to that. This is what we've been looking for.
Wow.
Very long time, and it works. We work with Berkeley and Stanford to calibrate it, and there's a significant mathematical equation behind this. So we didn't just say AI build this. We actually built it, tested it, and built sophisticated mathematical equations around weighting and why 62 and why 78. I think it is a new category that's going to change and challenge, the old engagement survey. By the way, it hasn't changed in 25 years. Gal 12, still 12. Still my best friend at work. And I believe those, and I did those too, but I think it's time to rethink.
Well, it's interesting because it's just like, and the product sounds incredibly cool. And, it's got a lot of stuff built into it, like the cultural vital signs thing, where it's just like you can actually quantify trust and psychological safety and inclusion like in real time, but also it's just like I can put on my employee hat and go, yeah, that kind of sounds scary. How do you thread that needle of trust?
It sounds really scary. What we did is we tried to design this, and we work every single day to protect the privacy of the person getting the information. So this isn't something someone can do a search on and go, I'm going to use this for a performance improvement plan because, the AI agent discovered these types of behaviors. Your individual data is completely protected for you. And so we worked really hard to create, because we knew if people thought this was a spy tool, no one would use it, or they would behave in perfunctive ways. What it does is, if you're uncomfortable with getting information about your behavior, you're not going to like this. If you're curious about, and I haven't met very many people who haven't been curious, like, can you send me what it says about my behavior? I'm like, I can send you an email because I can't get your behavior, but it can send something to you. Everyone's curious. And here's what can happen. Very few people get information about their behavior in meetings, especially senior leaders, especially because it's just hard to tell your very senior boss about their behavior and what could get better the next time. Most of them are used to not getting feedback, so they don't take it so well. Most of them, and I say feedback, or it's just information about their behavior. And if I get it wrong, the risk is really high. And so this is a educated, uninterested, party that gives the CEO and the executive team information about their behavior with no one experiencing a level of risk in the process. So I get information every day about my behavior that can get better. I give you a really good example on inclusion. And I think I'm pretty good at this. As a head of HR for 25 years, I just crush loose. And it said, you did a really good job in this first meeting about connecting to everyone here, but you really just appeared to pay attention to the three loudest voices in the room. There were two people in the room that, based on their profile, probably had something to add in this conversation. And next time, you might consider calling on them or asking them and kind of making room and space for them. So this meeting scored really low on inclusion because of my behavior in it. So the next time, the very first person I called on was one of the people that it recommended that I call on. Sure enough, brilliant. And I call on this person now first every time, both of them. These are my first two people I call on. And they're so valuable in the information they have, but they've different, profiles. One of the person is in Ukraine. Her worry is, am I going to have electricity and get bombed? So her, space and like thinking about what's going on is real different than everyone else's. So anyhow, there's information I get every day. And if people don't want to get better, this is a terrible tool. It's going to give you information you may not want to hear. But it doesn't hold back. This isn't the happy, smiley AI. It gives you truth. And I think we'll just have an opportunity once it's there, because we don't hide it, by the way. It's not like a secret little bot that hangs out. It's in full view. I think people get used to it, being in the room and getting information. I was with Guild for a while there as the head of HR. And we had a coach in the room for every meeting, a human who did what Instill does, except for a real human. And it was awkward at first. And like, wow. And I would get Slack or text or things from her about my behavior and might consider this. And then we would even stop the meeting sometimes, like, okay, stop. Let's talk about what just happened. How do you feel right now? And I was like, whoa. And you can do that with Instill too. You can say, stop the meeting. Like, how's it going? Feels like, do anything we need to do better? And go, oh yeah, you might consider, a little bit more on inclusion. There's a couple of people who haven't spoken up and you might want to ask this person. And so, okay, great. We'll continue the meeting. So you can interrupt the meeting and talk to the LLM about recommendations on how it's going. Anyway, there's just, it's new and we'll probably, as more people use it, we'll shape it. But the next feature that we're adding next week is the ability to pick a behavior. In the January 26th article of HBR, they said the best way to change culture is one behavior at a time. So I'm like, oh, okay. Let's everyone pick one behavior to change. You click on, that's the behavior I'm going to change. We have a giant behavioral taxonomy. You pick one of the behaviors, and then in 22 days, I can tell you or within 20 days, you can see your behavior shaping, or never. Might want to try a different intervention. So we can track behavior change with specific behaviors tied to, did I go to a learning course, a training course, a coach? And you can determine what interventions help the most for people with a certain profile.
So here's what I'm kind of curious about. We've seen this dynamic play out in real time where people seem to be inclined to share things with a chat bot that they might not share if they were talking to their manager or a coach, simply because psychologically they know, I am just talking to an algorithm. And so in a weird way, people feel more free to be candid. Do you find that the same kind of dynamic is going with getting feedback from your app in terms of, they're maybe more willing to listen to it because they know there's no judgment there. It's an algorithm rather than if they were getting it from their boss.
Yeah, it's there. There's no judgment and there's no bias. And I don't have recency bias. We just had, an argument, or I just had a thing. It is just saying what it knows from years of research about behavior. That's it. And you can go, okay, that doesn't feel right. And that's okay. We can recalibrate it, but it is based on, data and information, not about, it doesn't have an opinion. Does that make sense? It doesn't have an opinion. It reflects years of research and data and shares that based on what it knows and what it's learned.
Well, so let's shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit about kind of like the market and the moment that we're in, because it seems like culture tech is in the middle of a pretty weird moment. I think we're going through a couple of years where companies have not been investing in people tech after maybe over-investing in 20 and 21 and 22. And you have a bunch of companies out there. You have the Lattices and Culture Amps and 15Fives and Glints, all kind of, fighting for the same ground. What's the opening for Instill right now against those bigger, more established competitors?
I'm real familiar with all those. I've used all those. So I'm very familiar with them. I'm actually the user. I find sometimes that founders are like, hey, I invented this cool thing. What do I do with it? And they come to me to go, you're a user, but I'm actually a user of all those. And those are all really great tools. There are tools and I think they're really good at point solutions. If you want to make sure you have a good solid one-on-one with your manager and you record all the stuff, then 15Five is actually really, really good at one-on-ones. Lattice has a very specific thing that it's good at. I think about these as the interventions, good one-on-ones that impact the behavior that Instill measures. So these are all the peripheral things to helpfully get people to better behaviors and better experiences when they work together. We just have never been taking the things at 15Five and Lattice and Culture Amp in terms of pulses and surveys to ever get upstream from or even downstream to some extent. Like we did these interventions, we cross our fingers and 6 months later, we hope it works. Or, research says that, good one-on-ones work or good feedback works or recognition works or get information for how people feel on surveys. All that was the best we can do. And they're all individual point solutions, but they all lead to the single thing that they want to change behavior for better teams. The cover of HBR Today was, high-performing teams and how important they are. Cover of HBR Today. And you read the article, I was like, oh, you know how you measure it? You hire someone from McKinsey to watch everyone 1 month and they watch everyone again in 6 months. So it's $300,000 to do that. That's still the answer. And I thought even HBR can't get outside of this. So it's a new way of validating all these tools. I don't think it replaces them, but I think it validates and goes upstream. Engagement surveys, like we have a tool, but we do it a little bit differently. I call it a smart pulse. So we have the ability to pulse, but it's based on the behaviors in the room. So it'll go, and it's in the flow. So at the end of the meeting, it goes, might be a good idea to just ask everyone this question. Ding. And then they get an email. It's at the bottom of the email. I'm like, oh, I'll answer that. No separate app, no place to go to. It's specific about this particular team in this particular moment. I think there's room for smart pulses, and some of them may pick up on that and use what we get Instill to do better at smart pulses. I think we may help all these apps get better and smarter at their work.
Well, I think what's interesting is that, obviously we've, gone through probably a 15-year period where, surveys have just gone from, okay, we're going to do a survey maybe once every 6 months or annually to employees, to where employees are getting pinged with multiple surveys a day, just like complete, survey fatigue. Then there's also this moment where employees are mistrustful, they are skeptical, they're feeling beleaguered because of AI and other things going on in the workplace. Is that a tailwind for Instill? Or does that make it harder for your product to sell because maybe leadership will be scared of what they're going to find?
Yes, and here's I think AI had a real bad first date. Made a really bad impression on its first date. You go there and everyone's like, "It's here. I'm here to take your job." I'm like, "What? I thought you were going to be helpful to me, and now you're taking my job." And then also it was more like a blind date. You're forced to go on. You're like, "Hey, they show up and AI's on your screen. Is like, use it. And matter of fact, we're going to count how many times, held its hand on the first date." And you're like, "I don't even know this thing, and you're making me hold its hand and use it every day." It was a bad intro. There's so many better ways we could have done the change management and all the work into AI than introducing like, "Hey, this invasive species, we're going to put it on your computer." And I have the challenge now because we're really light. Well, we do all our AI work on the background. We don't push Instill into your company to do AI and get like an invasive species in your company. All this is on the inside, but I get put into the AI invasive species category. So I have to go to the AI governance council, which is death. And so getting through the process, because we have the label AI, it feels like we're going to destroy the company because there's going to have to be something happen. All of ours, like, there's no more danger for us attending the meeting than me or you. It's there. It gets the information, it works it, and puts it on an email, no different than the email you and I would send to anyone else. And it goes to a URL just like you would go to that, like a Google search. So because it's AI, it's a challenge. But here's what I wish the world had started with Instill. And this is why. Instill is there to help your behaviors get better every day and save your job. This is a way of seeing how you behave with other people that you can help them be better and you get better every day. If we'd introduced AI as this tool, this is designed to be in the room to whisper safely how you can get better every day versus tell me your skills and tasks so I can augment you. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm not, whatever that word augment means, I don't think I want it done to me. No, I don't want to be augmented, whatever I've heard of augmentation. So I just want you to help me be better at my job. And I think that we need more tools that are focused like Instill, and they're going to emerge. They're really helping people save their jobs and be amazing at their work, and so amazing that you won't replace them completely by AI. And I think you can't AI trust. You can fake it, but you can't AI trust because it's so dynamic and changing every moment. Or psychological safety or innovation or awe. There's a really great podcast about awe, the power of awe. Wow, that's cool. And so I've been studying a lot about the things that are uniquely human and how do you embed those into technology, like the power of creativity and awe, or the power of wisdom. Like, AI doesn't know all the experiences of my life. Doesn't know. There's no way it can have the judgment that I have because of all the things happened in high school and college and all the times that nothing is recorded about my life. It cannot know that ever, even though it knows a lot about me, but not that. And I think the power of wisdom and earned experience, the power of awe, the power of play, being really playful at work. I think we can bring a lot of those back. We can be a lot more playful. We can have more awe and creativity. We can honor experience a lot more. Yeah, you can AI a technical skill now, but you can't AI my life.
Well, and it seems like that's where the opportunity is. It's just like can AI, we want to look on the bright side of things, AI, can it make you more human? And it seems like the kind of feedback it's getting from Instill, helping a person understand their behavior and with non-judgmental feedback, but feedback that it seems like it has the opportunity to, at an individual employee level, increase the humanity in those work experiences.
So you have 500 people at a company and 300 people in that company every single day for some reason use Instill. And 300 people a week later have behaviors that are trackable and improved better than the week before. And the next week, they're a little bit better. And the next week, they're a little bit better. Can you imagine like a workplace where everyone is getting better at the behaviors every single day, like 60% of their own choice, not because they're, had a performance improvement plan.
Right.
Because they have, helpful information about their behaviors, that they can make choices around what they want to do.
Well, and it's interesting because it's just like there's also the scale issue, because it's just like, I mean, and you've seen this, it's just like we've dumped so much on line managers, and it's just like they have more direct reports, and it's just like, so great, you need to give direct feedback to each one of the 12 people on your team, and then how do you measure if there's any progress against the feedback? It's at a human level, it's not possible, but what you're talking about makes it not only the feedback, but then the measurement of progress highly possible.
It does. It enables, then you can have conversations like this. Over the past month, what have you learned about your behaviors? Like, what are you working on? How can I be helpful to work on the things that you've been working on? Because I'm not in the room with you every day, but you're getting information about your behavior every day. What have you learned? Versus me doing a 360 feedback, calling all your peers. All your peers said, you're this. And they're like, no, they didn't. Who are you talking about? Becky's the one who said that, right? I'm like, oh, no, it was Becky, but I'm not supposed to tell you it's Becky. So that's all that 360 feedback and all those things. This is really, and everyone in the market's Buckingham will say 360 feedback is the worst feedback ever. It's the only worst feedback you get is self-reporting. So I'm really biased about my performance, and I'm even more biased about everyone else's performance. So having an uninterested party that isn't you and that isn't, a human being, that actually gives you unbiased information every day. Now that doesn't need and have information go, hey, this is how you made me feel, and have conversations about that. This doesn't replace the human interaction, it actually enhances it. And maybe you get the opportunity to change your behavior before someone comes to you and says, you never call on me in meetings.
Well, what's interesting is there's a lot of AI washing in tech right now. And, what does, AI actually look like in a culture product versus a traditional tool with AI slapped on the label, in your opinion?
Well, we're AI native. So this is everything we do. Everything is so our entire system is AI. And everyone in the company is like AI native. We all are in it every day. We are experimenting with OpenClaw. We're literally trying to stay at the edge of what is possible and what is terrifying every day. And really trying to find ways of, using it to help people do their work better. So that's our focus. We're all thinking about this every day. I don't know, there is a lot of AI washing. I think if you're designing something to replace humans, I think that's going to scare people. And like, did you see the post on the phone? Like, hey, we just made an HR business partner. You don't need an HR business partner again. Like 1 million dislikes. Like, no one's like crazy. Well, like, we made an AI business partner because it's a ridiculous concept. That is, that there are things about that HR business partner job that are so human that you need. Now, there's 60% of it maybe that isn't, and you can free them up to do 100% of the time of the work they've always wanted to do. But I think there's a lot. You can't just tag AI on something and have it do a little bit of intelligent called AI program. We are, from day one, everything we do. As a matter of fact, it's a little challenging today because Claude is down.
Yeah, there's that.
Right now. So, when Claude is down, we are down. We just written an SLA around, 99.9% uptime because we are never down as long as, with the statement after, as long as Claude's up, we're up. Well, we didn't.
That's a pretty key asterisk there.
There's Reagan today. So we are working on that. But here's what I think about AI. AI isn't AI. Everyone thinks it's the same, and it is not. I joke about it. And I think this concept of like, AI readiness and you need to go to AI school and learn how to use AI is the stupidest thing ever. How many people went to phone school?
Yeah. Right.
One went to phone school. Like everyone knows how to use this thing. And it's pretty darn complex. Like AI is like phone school. Just start using it. And if I could raise a magic wand with every person who wants people to use AI, give them Perplexity, Claude, and ChatGPT for free to use at home. Pay for it. Use it at home all day. By using it and playing with it at home, they will use it at work beautifully and know what it does and what it tells you. They know that Claude is wildly different than ChatGPT. ChatGPT is wildly different Perplexity. And then there was a fourth one, it will be wildly different. You don't get the same answer from Claude, ChatGPT, and Perplexity. That's important to know. AI isn't AI. And you have to know what's behind the curtain of AI, because you can build a lot of junk using AI to build junky things. But if you don't put what I think we did was like 2 years of intelligence behind it that has math and tested, and not just that AI build a bunch of slop. We actually helped it think better by giving it, this needs to be, it's like a color palette. You add a little more blue and a little more yellow. AI wouldn't have done that.
AI can spin up something that looks like insight in an afternoon. Whether it is actual insight is a different question, and that's the one Dean spent his whole conversation answering. Once the technical skills get automated away, what's left is judgment and the ability to read a room. That's why a career HR leader ended up running an AI company instead of an HR department, and why Instill exists at all. Dean's team calibrated Instill's scoring system with researchers from Berkeley and Stanford, building real, tested weighting behind the numbers instead of letting an AI model guess at what mattered. That's the difference between a real product and AI slop wearing a product's clothes. The tools are everywhere right now. The judgment about how to use them well is still entirely human. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to WorkTech Weekly on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And I'll see you next time.